Howdy folks, Coops here from Energia, and today I'm bringing you a kind of equipment review of Gore-Tex jackets, especially alpine mountaineering jackets. There are two jackets I'm comparing today. The first is the great Arcteryx Gore-Tex jacket, a 3-ply Gore-Tex jacket specially made for alpine use, alpine climbing use. I've used this in the highlands of Scotland in winter. I've used it in the French Alps. I used it in the high country of Australia and Victoria in the snow. It's a favourite jacket of mine. It's cut big for my big frame. This is a double extra large. Goes over my down belay jacket very nicely. It's got super long sleeves, zip pits under the arms. A lot of superb features. It's a fairly short cut jacket, as you can see. It's made so you can wear a harness over it without it being too bulky. There are no load pockets on it, okay? No hand warmer pockets or hand storage pockets. The storage pockets for it are up quite high in the chest, and they're large size. You can fit a fair bit of gear in there if you want. They're not bellowed, but they're quite a good size. The hood is enormous on this thing. Easily goes over a helmet. In fact, almost gets swallowed up in it. But I've found that if you've got a belay jacket on over a hood, and then this over the top, or if you put a belay jacket on over the top, you're thankful for that extra space. In windy conditions, you've really got to have it cinched up tight though, otherwise you get a lot of spin drift into the hooded area. The elbows are gusseted here to make for much easier freedom of movement, particularly for overhead work, if you're ice climbing or doing any kind of rope hauling, belaying, anything where you need better hand movement. Excellent elbow construction, shoulder construction, with slightly thicker material. I think this dark green material is a little bit more abrasion resistant than the rest of the material. It has a flap under the zip to keep the weather out. It's one of those fancy waterproof zips, a very light grade though. I must confess that sometimes doing this up, you can see here, it's a very kind of fine grade zip. You've got big gloves on. That's not exactly easy going to kind of do that up. And it sort of is a bit fragile. You can see now after a few years of use that it's in risk of kind of wearing out at the point of the zip there. And it's not a two-way zip either. You can't unzip it from the bottom up and say, get into your harness or get into your pants from the underside. You've got to zip it all the way down from the bottom. So I prefer a two-way zip personally, and somewhat chunkier zip, but I know these waterproof zips don't often come in a kind of chunky style. What else is to be said on it? With this big hood, there are a number of adjustments at the back of the hood, as you can see. One circumference, another one that pulls down on the hood vertically, and then plus you've got your front cinches too. One of which seems to have popped out and doesn't work as well as it used to. It's got these kinds of sealing points in it up here, and it doesn't sit quite as well as it used to. Nonetheless, this is a jacket that I've used a lot over the years. Waterproof wise, well of course it's Gore-Tex, that's as good as you're going to get, but it is starting to seep water now in certain places through the shoulders when I'm wearing a pack. Could be of course condensation. I sweat an awful lot, and it could be condensation, but there are times when I think it is somewhat leaking here. There's a bit of delamination happening at the rear of the wrist cuffs, you can see there, and I have a feeling there is some water ingress in various places. So it's a jacket which I've used a lot, I like a lot, and if I had another $1,000 I'd probably buy another one just like that. However, what I did end up buying just recently was not another Arcteryx jacket for my alpine climbing, but a Northface jacket, and here it is. Very lightweight jacket in their Summit series. It's a super light series that Northface developed primarily for alpine climbing. Very lightweight and yet very sturdy. It's a kind of 3-ply Gore-Tex, but it's very, very thin. In fact, scarily thin. When I unpacked this and put it on, first of all, I felt like kind of paper, and you can see it's fairly rattly. I wondered if it would be strong enough. Time will tell, but let's try it on for size for starters, see how it goes. cut wise, it feels a little bit more snug than my Arcteryx jacket, particularly in the elbows. You can see it doesn't really have a gusseted elbow design, and so when I've got bulky clothing on and I pull up, and that's going to be a lot more tight than my Arcteryx jacket. Now admittedly a slim fit means sort of a cleaner profile for climbing, less material to catch snow and get wet with. So a clean fit is good, but you don't want to be restricted in your movement either. So it's a little bit restrictive. I'm only in a shirt at the moment. Imagine with a couple of fleece jackets or a down jacket underneath, harness down here, pack over the top. Could be pulling up fairly tight. This is a longer cut jacket. You can see in the picture, comes down to just below my hip, my bum, it's almost covered. The Arcteryx had a longer bum and was cut high in the front to allow access to a harness. This is cut low all the way around. The zip, a much chunkier design. Let me show it to you. So it's not one of the waterproof zips, but it is a chunky style zip. Again, not a two-way zipper, just a one-way zipper. Nice wide flap under the zip for weather protection. Pocket wise, does have the lower hand pockets, which is nice if you just want to kind of sit around a tent and, wait for the snow to melt, for a brew to cook up, and you want somewhere to sink your hands. That's very handy. Also easy access rather than up here, which can get a bit tight and cluttered to get into. So two lower pockets. Just remember though that if you're wearing a harness on the outside, those pockets will be virtually inaccessible. In which case you do have a large stowage pocket in the chest, just the one side, not on both sides. And inside that is an extra little kind of security pocket for keys, for phone, ski pass, whatever you want to put in there, it'll be secure. So that's a very handy little additional compartment. I like those little things, especially if they're lightweight and slim profile, just to keep things from bunching up. If you've got keys in there, you're out for a day, and you've got other stuff in there and you're pulling it out, you can drop your keys. So that just keeps it really secure. That does up nicely. That uses one of those little cheeky waterproof zips, so that should be a fairly weatherproof compartment. The cuffs Velcro up. It's a very kind of non-sticky Velcro. You can see it doesn't take much to pull that off, and I wonder how long that's going to last for. But it's not a bad little design. It's quite neat and easy to do. This is a slightly thicker Gore-Tex material in the lower sleeve, through the shoulders and through the chest. You can see two styles of fabric, and it's a slightly more abrasion resistant fabric, this material here. You can see it's almost kind of like a very fine ripstop. I'm not sure if it is a ripstop, but it has a kind of checkered appearance, and certainly feels stiffer and stronger than the other material. Well, what about the hood? Let's check that out. This is without a helmet, of course, at this stage. I've got it cinched up at the moment. There's a kind of rear piece here for tightening it up. So it's cinched up for wearing without a helmet, without a hat, and it sits really nicely actually. I really like this hood design. If it's windy or raining outside, as it has been in Melbourne and Victoria lately, this is good visibility and yet cinched up and weatherproof. It does up quite high and yet still good visibility. Okay, let's try it with a helmet on. Got one here. If I can remember how to do it up, there we go. Now I haven't uncinched it. How's that? Fine, look at that. Plenty of room still. Can zip that up. Got my helmet on. How's the look? It's okay. So you can wear a helmet. No doubt you could wear a belay parka underneath with a big hood over it, over the top, or underneath this hood. There's plenty of room in the hood. So very lightweight, very breathable Gore-Tex material. I like the colour. It's a kind of two-tone red, almost a pink here. I like the green better, I must admit. I like the green, that light green of the Arcteryx jackets. I'm all for bright colours, particularly in snow country for safety. It's good if you get lost or stuck somewhere. You're going to be much more easily visible to a rescue party than if you're wearing a black, grey, navy blue, green jacket. So bright colours, looks good for photographs too. Northface Summit Series jacket. It's new for me. I'm going to be using it hopefully in the next few years for both street walking when it's cold and wet and windy, for bush walking in Australia, for alpine climbing in different parts of the world, ice climbing, and I hope that it gives me many years of good service. This one, price-wise, cheaper than the Arcteryx. In fact, I got this on special on the internet for about $400, which I'm very pleased about, 400 Australian. That's kind of crazy good price. But you'd find this retailing mostly for around 700, 600 or 700 in Australia, compared to close to 1,000 for the Arcteryx. So take your pick. Nice jackets. Get out there, enjoy the mountains, be safe, train hard. Look forward to seeing you next time. Ciao.